So, hi, Rachel. Please let the
Okay.
audience know who you are, please, and what seat you're running for.
Um, my name is Rachel Davis. I am running for school board trustee for District 2. I'm excited to start this adventure, and I'm looking forward to making a change.
So, first, just talk about why. What is your motivation for being on the school board?
Over the last 4 years, I've dedicated a lot of my time volunteering all throughout our community, anything through PTA, Shriners, Daughters of the Nile, the Permian Basin Gas Processing Association. I mean, anything that I can get involved in, I try to, because that's, for me, having a servant's heart is very important, and it's a very important lesson to show my children. Well, when my kids started school at, MISD, I couldn't help it. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the teachers. I fell in love with the students. I fell in love with, administration. And, I built these relationships. And over those 4 years, I noticed there was a disconnect, if you will, a lack of communication. I saw where, teachers were having, struggling to get some things across, and, parents and students, and even myself, I had my own, incidents where I tried to reach out to my district representative and didn't get anywhere. Well, that became frustrating, to say the least. And so it's like, okay, I've wanted two options. I can sit back and continue to be frustrated and feel like that there's a lack of communication and transparency, or I can take all of my years of experience and put it to good work. And so that's what I'm just trying to do. I'm trying to take my, my personal experience, the things that I've seen, and put that to good work. And I think that I would be a great candidate for it. I do. I think that I've understanding and being in the schools every day the way that I can see what's going on.
And just tell me more about you. Who are you? What is your background? Just more on that so the people can get to know who you are.
Absolutely. I am not originally from Midland, Texas. My husband is. I'm from East Texas and South Louisiana. I graduated actually with a GED, and then I went back to college and graduated as a surgical technologist through Career Technical College in Shreveport, Louisiana. I've worked in the operating room. I loved it. It was fantastic. It was super, exciting and neat, and, a new challenge every day to overcome. I met my husband in 2009, and we got married, started talking about having a family, and so we ended up in Midland. I went from the swamp to the desert, and I've made Midland over the last 6 years my home, and I absolutely love it. The people here are amazing. They've welcomed me with open arms, and I just want to see it succeed.
And talk about your children's experience with MISD. How do they feel about the schooling here? I guess from your perspective, what do you feel that they are getting out of the schools?
I think that I've run across some really amazing teachers. I mean, that's first and foremost. My children, I've got a third grader, and going into third grade, and I've got a first grader. So I'm very much invested for the next, 17, 18 years, to say the least. We've come across some really amazing teachers. I mean, that have the passion and the love for the kids. They're not in it for the money. Come on. Like, I don't know a teacher yet that has decided, like, oh, I'm going to be a teacher and, go in it for the money. That wrong career. I've just been surrounded by the warmth of, like I said, the teachers and the administrators and the parents and the community as a whole. I've noticed that they want MISD to do really well. It's just there's a lack of communication. Somehow, we've got to bridge that gap, if you will, to where parents and teachers and administration and even downtown, we've got to come together as a community.
So one of your biggest grievances that I've picked up so far seems to be a lack of transparency, communication, whatever the word may be, from people in that state to their constituents. Do you have any other kind of platforms or ideals that you want at the forefront of your campaign?
Absolutely. My mission statement, if you will, is I want to create an enriching, safe environment for our students. I want to empower our teachers, and I want District 2 constituents' voices and throughout the community to be heard. Those are my three biggest things is, we've got to start investing in our students and our teachers and our taxpayers. I mean, we're all wanting the same things. We have to work together as a team to accomplish that.
And how do you plan on accomplishing those goals?
For me, I know it sounds simple, but it's common. It's a common sense approach, if you will. Look at the current curriculum that we're using is, for the last 4 years that I'm aware of. And like I said, this is based off of my daughters, and my son both being in MISD schools. They're currently using a program called iStation. And I haven't talked to a single person that, especially as a parent for me, it's frustrating because it doesn't give you a progress report, if you will, of where your actual student is. And we've heard all these great things. It's supposed to, increase academic performance, and it's supposed to be able to help us accomplish STAR testing and things like that. But if you look at it, it's not doing what all it's promised to do. And I think that there's a better curriculum out there. There's one currently right now that is implemented in some schools throughout our district, but not all of them. And it's by Renaissance. It's called the Accelerated Reading Program. And they even have a math program. So that right there, I mean, why not utilize one that we know is, closing the gap and gives more individual, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you can actually look, where you can genuinely see, not, it's not an estimated thing. You can actually see where their student is as far as progress, comprehension, things like that. It's more catered to an individual student versus a mass group. Secondly is I'm working with the Texas Classroom Teachers Association on a policy. We used to have one implemented throughout MISD, and unfortunately, that hasn't been available throughout all of our campuses. It's called a behavioral specialist. That is one particular, teacher or counselor that, specializes in helping those students that might be having, some struggles as far as emotional, mental, things like that, to where the student benefits from being able to have that one-on-one with a professional versus the teacher having to stop with 25 kids and focus on one child. It helps both parties involved. And lastly, it's very simple. I mean, I am here. Anyone's welcome to message me on Facebook. Anyone's welcome to, if you see me on the, in grocery stores, wherever, I mean, trust me, my students at, my daughter's school and my son's school, they always run up to me. I'm always here to be available to hear people's concerns and thoughts. I mean, get back down to basics. Let's not overcomplicate it. You're elected official, that's an honor. It is. And it has to be something that you take with pride. And if you ignore the people that put you in position, well, you might not be there very long. You have to be available to be, to listen to your constituents, your parents, and not just in District 2, but throughout our district. Be there for all of our students. Because like I said, once again, we all want the same things. We do. We all want our students to succeed.
Great. And now I'm going to ask you some of the harder questions.
Absolutely.
This is on the November ballot coming up. I'm assuming, I don't think I'm going that far in saying coronavirus, the effects of it will not subside by that time. We're talking about in-class learning, e-learning, a combination of the both. What is your stance on those different kinds of learning for students given the pandemic?
I think that our teachers, let me just say this, the last 2 months of last year's school, I have to give kudos to our teachers. They whipped that together. They did the best that they could. I think that they were given such short amount of time to pull something together. Granted, it wasn't perfect by any means, but hey, let's give credit where credit's due. Our teachers did an amazing job, trying to build that curriculum and transition from face-to-face to now virtual. Now, going forward, a place that I think maybe we could have improved on is, instead of waiting until the last minute for our teachers to learn when we did on August 3rd that it was going to go back to virtual, they should have been informed. They spend their summers working on their lesson plans and so forth in Google Classrooms. They could have been devoting those 2 months into preparing even more so for the coming year. Excuse me. The one thing that concerns me is the Texas Education Agency had mentioned before that if schools aren't open, they don't get funding. Well, we desperately need the funding. So where does that leave us as Midlanders? How long is it going to be? 4 weeks? Is it going to be 6 weeks? We need to have a plan that is, per se, flexible, but that isn't going to cost us our state funding. We should be training our professionals and our custodian teams and our teachers, proper sanitation, proper hand washing techniques. I mean, I had spoken with Dr. Atkins back, 2 months ago, it was last month, as someone that specializes, that's what I went to school for, is sterile technique. That's my entire job. And I even offered her, hey, look, I've got 2 little ones. Let's work on, a hand washing video that's super fun, that my kids do all the time, that's proper technique, but unfortunately I still haven't heard back from her on collaborating with that. But as far as the re-entry plan goes, we need to have something that's more concrete. Yes, we have to be flexible no matter what it is. We have to have our student safety and our teacher safety first and foremost. Our kids are so resilient, Jake. Come on, you know that. Kids, when we ask them to wear a mask, at first they're going to complain for a few minutes. Then once it becomes habit and routine, they're fine with it. For me personally, excuse me. For me personally, I have been working with my children, and I think that's the biggest thing as parents can do. Work with your kids, have a positive attitude, because our attitude influences our children a whole lot. I mean, that's half the battle. As far as the re-entry plan itself goes, I'm interested to see where MISD takes us after this 4 weeks. Is it going to be based on actual positive, test results, or how many tests are actually being taken? I mean, this is all unprecedented times. This is uncharted territory. We've got to make the best of it of what we can. However, I personally feel like that if our teachers have the training, our custodians have the training, we trust them every day with the lives of our children. And they love our kids just as much as we do. I put my faith and my trust, I do, in our teachers. I think that they'll protect them the best. As long as we equip them with the right, necessary tools, I think they'll do great.
And speaking of the teachers, you seem very plugged into the classrooms. Have you spoken to any of them about how they feel about returning to the classrooms?
I have.
Potentially returning to the classrooms?
I have, and it is a mixed result. I mean, you've got those that I have a very dear friend of mine, her husband works for the hospital, and she's in that very small bracket of, double exposure, if you will, with her, husband's work and things like that. And she's cautious, she is, and then you have others that, I have a very good friend of mine that's a single mom with 2 kids, and she's one of our amazing teachers. And she's scared because, she has a duty as a teacher to teach, 25 plus kids a day, but then she has 2 of her own. How does she balance that? And I've heard a lot of feedback from, those that are willing to go back and those that are on. But overall, what I have heard back is that they want to get back in the classrooms. They miss their students, that's what they love. That's where their hearts are. They want to get back in our classrooms.
And I guess just building more off of that, have you, how do you think, sorry, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this, but
okay.
I guess, what do you feel the board feels about the teachers? Do you think that there's a disconnect between the two?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I think that I will say, I know for a fact that one, I know personally understands it, possibly better than the others because, his wife is a teacher. I think there might be one other one, but it feels like to me that we're not utilizing our greatest asset right now, and that is our teachers. I mean, the more our teachers succeed, the more our students succeed. If we can't support them, how are we going to support our students? And one of the funny things that have been asked to me is, it's like, well, how do you get teachers to come here? Well, that to me is very simple. You take care of your employees that you have now. I mean, you can't expect someone to come from a different district if, our own teachers aren't being taken care of. We've got to start opening those lines of communication where there is a need for improvement. Take the good with the bad. I mean, the only failure is not doing anything at all. So, listen to the good, listen to the bad, listen to the, ways that we can improve from firsthand. I mean, they're in the trenches every day. They know what our students need. They know what they need. Let's listen to them. Let's open up those lines of communication.
And now I'm going to switch real quick here. Another big thing that MISD was in the news for, I've only been here for a year, so I don't know about, previously, but at least since I've been here, one of the biggest news stories was the bond. What are your thoughts on how the school bond in the previous November ballot was handled?
How it was handled overall, or why?
Yes, I guess more handled by the school board. We can't really, I don't want to have you talk about Midland County and all that went on with the box, but just how it was handled in total. How do you feel about that?
I feel like there's almost, unfortunately after it had, failed, there was this big, push of, oh, well, Midlanders don't want to help, their school. That is not true at all. That was, I don't believe that for 2 seconds. I mean, look at the sales tax that we just passed not that long ago over the health thing. I mean, Midlanders are willing to invest, especially when it comes to the success, like I said, of our schools, of our healthcare. We want better. We do. And we're willing to, put the money in it. But it has to make sense. It has to be transparent. You have to be open and honest with what your plan is. And frankly, if you can't explain your plan to us, we're not going to invest in it. I mean, if you can't make me buy it, why would I buy it just on the whim of, okay, sure, it sounds like a good idea. No, it has to be a smart financial, investment for anyone to do it. I mean, you can promise me that, oh, I've got the world, all I need is, $500,000 or 500 million. And I'm going to look at you and be like, I need a lot more than your word. What's your plan? That, again, for me, that was another way that we could have improved, tremendously with transparency. You've got to be honest. You've got to tell everybody. They want the details. Give them to them. And
the other topic, I said that there were 2 stories.
There's plenty going on right now.
Yeah. The biggest one, at least, maybe even not just outside or, a little bit more than outside of the Midland area, is the name change of Robert E. Lee High School. I'm not even sure if it falls in District 2, if it'd be under your jurisdiction, but of course, the MISD board did vote to change the name. There's clearly a lot of debate and people who have different opinions on it. What are your thoughts on the school board changing the name?
For me, this is, again, where I kind of, as a transplant such as yourself, I mean, we almost have an advantage of being able to look at it from both points because we don't have the emotional investment of it. But for me, I can see both points. I can see how it would invoke tradition and pride in some, and then, concern in others. The biggest takeaway for me is I am super impressed by the amount of passion that this has brought out in our community. Honestly, I want to see that passion continue on past this. This is something that, if we fought, passionately and, voiced our opinions. I mean, how many people have reached out to the media and, this has brought us such emotion for people. I want it to carry on. I do. I think it's great when people get involved. I just want to see it continue on, past the name change. I want to see it, I want to see the same passion and fight when it comes to our academics, when it comes to upgrading our campuses, taking care of our current facilities. I want to see that. I don't want to see this after it's all said and done and the proverbial dust is settled, if you will. People just walk away. That's not how you invoke change. It's not. You want to invoke change, carry your passion. That's what I'm leading by example. I'm passionate about our academics. I'm passionate about our teachers. I'm passionate about our students. This is why I'm here. I'm standing up and using my voice. I want all of these people that have this same passion, keep it up, keep going with it, but now focus it where we can make a difference on top of not just the name change, but, more into, like I said, academic performance, current facilities, things like that. Again, for me, I even asked my husband, he's a graduate of Midland Lee, and I asked him, I said, honey, how do you feel? And he was like, unless it's going to change the academic performance, he said, I can see it from both sides. He said, is it a smart investment? I'm not sure. He doesn't feel the same as other people's do, and neither do I, because like I said, I don't have the emotional ties to it, but I can see it from both points. The only thing, like I said, that ask that comes out of this, let those passionate people keep fighting. Let them go on to, let's find another, topic that we can all come together and fight for.
Great, Rachel. Is there anything I didn't ask you, something you feel is important to say, emphasize, let the people know about your platform before the November ballot?
Again, I just want people to understand, I want to create, like I said, an enriching, safe environment for our students. I want to empower our teachers, and I want to let all of our District 2 constituents' voices be heard, and throughout our district. I'm here, I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to work to find solutions. I want Midland ISD to succeed. I'm not here to, just continue to gripe about the problems without offering solutions. We have to come together as a community to make it better for our kids.